Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll get started in, I guess, about a minute or two.
Good morning.
All right, we'll go ahead and get the task force meeting started. Ms. Natalie, could you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Chairman Noel,
Here.
Dan Reel,
Here.
Arthur Lawson,
Here.
Baron Fuller,
Here.
Barry Regular, Charlie Gardner, Chris Hebert,
Here.
Major Chuck McNeil,
Here.
David Sickey, Earl Barbary, Mike Lejeune,
Sean here for the Department of Revenue.
Ned White, Roseanne Thompson, Stan Guidros, Dr. Thomas Leviste, Trey Tantillo, Trudy Smith,
Here.
Vincent Schwartz,
I'm here.
and Wade Duty.
I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, we'll go ahead and, I know we attached the certification by Secretary Pearson to the agenda, which is what allows us to meet in this manner under the circumstances and consistent with the governor's executive proclamation. So with that, we'll go ahead and move to approval of the minutes of our June 9th meeting. Does anyone like to make a motion? We approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion. Baron Fuller.
Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any objection? There's no objection, then motion carries and the minutes are approved. What I really wanted to get to today and really was to have a conversation since we last met 2 or 3 weeks ago. A couple things. One, the recommendations that the task force put together were submitted to the RLC, and presentation was made 2 weeks ago, I believe. I really want to thank Dan Reel, Wade Duty, Stan Guidros, Mike Lejeune for contributing. Everyone contributed, but also for contributing during the presentation and being available to touch on the issues specific to their industries and answer any questions. Obviously, as time goes, we'll see what results from those recommendations. Also wanted to move in, I guess, really to talk about where we're at, what you're seeing in the industries in your particular areas, what's working, what's not. As we all know, COVID positive cases have gone up over the last week or two. We have not moved to phase 3, and it looks like it will at earliest be towards the end of the month or a few more weeks before that decision is made. So I think it's important that we continue to do everything we can do as an industry and as a regulator to make sure that gaming establishments are safe, that all the CDC and other guidelines are being followed. And in some cases, maybe there's some things that you're doing above and beyond that we need to share and we need to maybe talk about. One thing that I think I do want to talk about is the potential, not that we want to go there, but the potential for making masks mandatory. Nevada, I believe, has done it. Some of the corporate entities have made that decision. I believe other states may be moving from a gaming jurisdiction, may be moving in that direction also. But I just think it's something we need to talk about, particularly what may be some hurdles if we do that. The last thing we want to do is slide backwards into perhaps a lower phase or worst case scenario back to closure. So with that, what I'd like to do is we'll kind of go down the agenda, the usual list, and we'll start with casinos. Wade, I'll give you the first opportunity to kind of give your thoughts on what has been happening the last few weeks, particularly since we've moved into phase 2, and anything that you've seen or heard.
Okay. I think with respect to current operating conditions, we're not seeing any problems. Most of those got ironed out on the front end. As far as our operations, we are more and more bumping up against capacity with the limitations imposed by phase 2. Although obviously we understand there's no immediate relief for that, and that, as you already noted, will be a decision that will come a couple of weeks from now. With respect to considerations of mandatory mask wear for customers, it's something obviously we have concerns about supply quantities. And we would also note that from what we're seeing in the media, the contact tracing is not revealing that large venues are really the source of many of the issues. They seem to be more social and more personal, graduation parties, crawfish boils, and things like that. So, but I get it all has to be weighed in the balance of, as you said, the primary goal is not to backslide. So I think that's really, we'll take it as it comes, but it's certainly not our preference.
Sure. Vincent, I'll shift to you with Boyd.
We're in Kenner, our property in Kenner, Jefferson Parish, passed the requirement of masks. That started today, so I really don't have a lot of insight as to how that's going. We share Wade's concern about supply. We were sourcing it yesterday. We've got a couple of months supply on hand for that property, but just looking around the country as this seems to be migrating that way, we're just trying to get ahead of it in the event that it becomes mandatory. We do have a campaign where we're, maybe even more strongly encouraging people to do it, and maybe that we can get a higher rate of participation voluntarily, is kind of what we're trying to do at our other properties currently.
Okay. And what would you say up to this point has been the compliance or usage by patrons with usage of masks with our patrons?
I think when we opened, kind of the group, I think we were kind of all in alignment with what we were seeing in our buildings, which was about 50% coming with a mask and about 25% taking it. I think the people coming in with a mask is probably in the 30 or 40% range, and probably the people taking it are in the 15 or 20% range. So it has been a decline in the public, I guess they've seemed to lighten their stance on wearing masks generally in the area. And when I go into, you know, some of the other stores, I kind of see the same thing, that, you know, you've got to look around to find a mask in some cases in some of the big box stores. So I think people are just, you know, kind of adjusting.
Sure, sure. Is there anything that Boyd has implemented, I guess, that goes above and beyond the CDC related guidelines?
We are, you know, I think we have an abundance of cleaning stations that are a little bit heavier than probably what has been required. We've had some chip cleaning protocols that we've looked at and implemented in some cases, and really just an abundance of cleaning. I don't think there's anything unique to what we're doing relative to the other operators, and then relative to the CDC guidelines.
Right. I think it's important that, you know, people realize it's more than just temperature checks of patrons and employees wearing masks and of course encouraging and providing masks for patrons. I mean, there's a lot more going on, and in the distancing, there's a lot more going on, particularly from a cleanliness and a cleansing standpoint at the properties. Okay. Baron, get your thoughts on some of those issues.
You know, nothing really out and beyond what Vincent commented with Boyd or what Wade did too. You know, we're weighing the possibility of mandatory mask wearing at all of our properties by both guests and team members. Right now it's team members, so we're also weighing guests. But again, it takes into consideration jurisdictions, and then the fact of preference for customers. We've all seen some press-related items where customers have refused to wear masks in areas where it's mandatory, and some things have erupted. So we're weighing the fact of that. I think we're all blessed with the fact that we have the most elaborate surveillance systems that are out there. So when it comes to contact tracing in reference to either a guest or a team member, we do a heck of a job isolating where that team member or guest was at, and then anybody that may have come into contact with that person and notification. So I think as an industry, we're pretty unique to have that ability. So that's something that stands out that maybe we can talk about in the future. Hopefully we're never pressed with the fact we're going to set back in a stage, but I think as an industry, that's something that sets us apart, is we have the ability to contact trace maybe better than anybody that's out there.
Yeah, Baron, I appreciate, and I think that's a good point you meant, or you indicated about contact. And I saw a comment, but yeah, that makes sense. You know, you do have, we know the elaborate security system, and it makes sense to use that to do some contact tracing. Appreciate it. Dan, I was on.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We are mandatory for guests already, and it is a little bit of a challenge. We believe it's the right thing to do here, but at the same time, to be honest, you're constantly chasing down customers who are either taking a drink at the moment or have had something to eat, or they just don't want to wear the mask, and we're enforcing it. And it's led to a few tough issues for our employees, but we're supportive, and we're making sure that everyone understands that this is the policy, and if you want to play here, you got to wear a mask. And so we've stuck with it all the way through. And at this point in time, the team is getting really good. We have them scripted, we've got them supported, and we've followed through with making sure that every employee understands that it's their responsibility to help us follow through with accountability in that area. We actually had a visitor from a code enforcement agent on Monday, and we passed that with flying colors. So it's happy to see. That tells us that our team is doing a good job. And as it relates to just the CDC requirements, we're definitely going above and beyond with the chip washing, as Vincent mentioned, and everything else that Wade, Vincent, and Baron have stated. We're in line with the rest of the industry.
Great. And clarify, is the mandatory mask, is that a Caesar's policy, or is that something the city mayor has enacted?
It's both. So at first, when we first opened up, it was City of New Orleans. And since that time, our company has gone to all masks at all properties.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Yes.
I was to see if Barry, did you make it on the call? Don't see Barry. Okay. Roseanne Thompson with Golden Nugget. See if she had made it on. All right. We'll shift to video poker. See, Mr. Arthur, you're on. What's your perspective from the video poker industry? You're muted.
Arthur, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can unmute him. Natalie, can you unmute him? There we go. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're pretty much in line, with the casino industry and providing masks for customers, the cleaning that's going on in the casinos, taking the temperatures, making sure social distancing practices are applied, and for the most part, receiving good cooperation from the players and our clients. So we haven't experienced a whole lot of problems. Occupancy is in some cases, some days, it presented some issues at some of the truck stops, not the majority. I think that we're doing the things that need to be done as far as an industry on those levels. We haven't had any problems that I'm aware of positive tests or anything for any individuals involving that, but it seems to be going pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ned White, I believe you were on. If not, Stan Guidro, did you make it on? Let's see, Stan. All right. Mike Lejeune, from a charitable standpoint, the bingo halls.
Okay, as I reported last time, most of the video bingo halls are reopening or have opened. The mask wise, I feel like it's probably 50–60% of the patrons are wearing them, but we haven't really had any major issues with that. As far as the traditional halls, about 80% of those are have opened. Just this past week, I've had 2 of them that have closed because of positive results, either from a player or a worker, and they took it upon themselves to self-quarantine. They're going to close down for now and stay closed for a couple of probably 10–12 days, re-sanitize everything, and reopen. Then the other part of our industry, the VFWs, the American Legions, the smaller halls, most of those have not reopened, mainly because of their smallness of their hall. They're not willing to open with the keeping the 6-foot distancing. They were hoping to have the phase 3 open it up a little bit more, but I don't even think that's going to help them. The other, I missed one part about the traditional halls. They sell a lot of pull tabs on the floor and walk the floor. So some of them have actually made it mandatory that all patrons that are on the floor to wear masks. And if they do not wear a mask, they're not allowed to buy pull tabs on the floor. They have to go to the booth. So I think that has helped with the mandating masks, that if they want to be served on the floor, they wear their mask. But other than a couple of halls closing, I think everything's going pretty smoothly.
Thank you. Thank you. Major McNeil, I was going to get any comments or thoughts from your perspective.
Yes, sir. my guys reporting that there's been no issues with anybody. Everything's been going smoothly. We've had a couple complaints, but we've verified that, and pretty much everyone that the complaints, well, every one of the complaints has been unfounded. Some of the properties are doing a little bit more than others. I know one property is like roping off the table games, give a little more spacing. But overall, everybody's doing a great job so far.
Thank you. And I believe your office is going to put out a reminder later today, particularly going into the 4th of July weekend, just to reinforce the guidelines and some of the requirements.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We're just going to just a simple reminder of what's required. Just put it back out there because it's been about a month since the order came out related to what the requirements were. So just put it back fresh in everybody's mind. Nothing new or anything like that. Just a refresher.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris Abear from the AG's office. Any thoughts, comments?
No, we hadn't received any complaints or comments from our office with regard to any of the mask issues. I personally have been to Golden Nugget. I had an overnight stay for a morning meeting in Lake Charles. And I did just kind of walk around just to kind of see, what was going on property. And I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot of patrons wearing masks on the casino floor and in the restaurant area. So that was definitely encouraging. And I just want to commend, what I'm hearing from the properties on the efforts that they've taken so far.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, we'll shift over to our public comment agenda item. Opportunity for anyone to make any comment on the topic at hand. Okay. I really appreciate everyone taking a few minutes this morning to sit down and talk about the issue. Hopefully, again, we continue, or hopefully the steps that all the properties in the industry and as a whole are taking continue to be effective, and we don't have to visit or, as I indicated earlier, maybe slide backwards into less occupancy and hopefully even closure. So I think continue to do everything you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'll let you know. We'll send something out if we need to meet. I'm sure we're going to meet again. I don't think it'll be next week unless something particular comes up. But we will probably meet again as we get a little bit further into this this month and as we approach, hopefully, which will be phase 3. So again, thank you to everyone. And I'll leave it at that. We'll end it with a motion to adjourn from someone.
Motion to adjourn.
From Wade Duty.
Second.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Yep.
Hearing no objection, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, guys.